guys. Welcome to another episode of Help with Natalie Cuomo. I'm here with my good friend Austin Locke.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Actually, I'm doing fine. I was in the waiting room for like 10 minutes before you got here, and I lost 3 games of phone chess in a row. And then I tried to make small talk with the other person who's in the waiting room, and she was so not into it. So if my vibe is weird, that's why.
It's the loss of phone chess.
Dude, like if I lose enough games of phone chess, I am just in like a bad mood, and then people are like, "What's up with you?" And I'm like, it's embarrassing. I can't talk about it.
Do you play the computer or you play other people?
No, I play other people.
Yeah, okay.
I'm really bad.
Really?
I'm like aggressively bad at it.
I want to start playing more of those little. I like the beer pong one.
Yeah, that's the same as chess. Beer pong, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same
equivalent.
little, thing. So we did your show last night at
Yes, you did.
Solas
Thank you for
Bar.
doing it.
That
I appreciate
was very
it.
fun.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you guys came.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. It's always fun. Your fiance now, Dan, one of my oldest friends, always gives me shit because I was like, "You never book me." And I'm like, "I text you to do my show so often, and you just don't respond to me." And he's like, "Why am I never on your show, Austin?" I'm like, "It's because you never answered the text, Dan." So, it was really good to have you guys. It was a lot of fun to see y'all.
Yeah, he loves you.
Yeah, I love him too. He's the first guy I met in New York City when I moved here.
Really?
First day I was here, we met. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, whatever, like 7-8 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're from LA?
I'm from LA, yeah.
So what is it like growing up in Los Angeles?
I didn't realize how different it was until I talked to other people because I just thought that was normal. You know what I mean? I thought that everyone had like 7 child stars in their high school. And like everyone's teachers like every now and then left to go do an audition or whatever. But like it literally every single person in LA who moved to LA wants to be an actor, right? And so like every waiter and waitress is like unbelievably attractive and fit, and they're all like constantly auditioning and running lines. And like they're I don't know if you remember, a couple years ago, I think it was Johnny Depp did an interview where he said that he worked at whatever fast food restaurant, and whenever people would come in, he would try out different accents on them. Like he would do Australian or whatever, and he said that's how he learned how to do accents. That interview came out the next month. Every restaurant I went to, they were doing accents. And so that was kind of the vibe. That's
a crazy thing to do as like an employee. Like as a kid, I would be like, I would do a fake accent with like a friend and be like, "We're sisters."
No, of course.
But as an adult, like working a job, it's nuts.
No, it's in trying to be an actor or actress is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I feel not that trying to be a comedian is better. Actually, no, it is. I take that. It definitely is. Yeah. So that growing up in LA, but it's one of those things where I just didn't have a baseline. You know what I mean? Like that just was my world. So I didn't acknowledge the fact that it was strange until one of the other stories I had growing up was that my 6th grade teacher left in the middle of the year because she became Willow Smith's private tutor. Wow. Yeah. And that was just like a thing that happened, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're not very LA to me. Like,
thank you.
I feel like you're a very like kind person. Like you think of other people. Like,
thank you very much.
Why do you think you're not as like materialistic LA as some other people might be?
By the way, that is such a compliment. You have no idea. I mean, because obviously there's people who are like that. Especially like I grew up in like the suburbs of like Santa Monica, and so there was definitely like a lot of like kids of like the insanely wealthy and insanely famous. But there also weren't. You know what I mean? Like there was like a lot of just like normal people also. Like my parents aren't in entertainment at all, and like none of my friends. I guess some of my friends' parents were, but for the most part, most of my friends' parents had like whatever normal jobs, and it was just like we knew growing up that those people were weird. You know what I mean? So even though it was more normal, like the type of people at my high school don't exist at other high schools, but also even within my high school, I knew that was a weird thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. To be like a famous person's kid is like crazy.
Yeah. Like they're still like, I don't want to say name, but like Arnold Schwarzenegger's kid went to my high school instead of like Reese Witherspoon's kid and like people like that, and it was just like. And by the way, those kids were very nice. I'm saying them
You're
because
saying the nice ones.
No, I am, because there's other kids who I didn't like, and I don't want to, whatever. But those like their kids were very sweet, kind people. But then there was other famous people's kids who were just like psychos, and I was like, yeah, like we knew that was weird.
Yeah, when I lived in LA very briefly, and I was like a nanny for this kid who lived in a hotel. And
which hotel?
He lived in. It's right next to the Pit in LA.
Oh yes. I know I forget the name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And there's like it was a nice hotel.
Yeah.
And so there was another fucking couple that living at the hotel, and I was like watching the kid, and it was like a famous couple, and he was friends with their kids, and the kids were so evil. They like pushed me in the pool.
What?
Yeah, and every time she like has a Netflix special, and I'm like, I can't watch this. Your kid pushed me in the pool.
That's so funny, dude. Like full clothes push you in.
Yes.
That's like a Disney Channel type thing to do. Like that is like a Sweet Life of Zach and Cody ass thing.
It did feel like
to happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those. That's so funny.
The kid I watched was like my favorite person.
Oh wait,
ever,
that's cool.
But those like other kids living in the hotel, you're like
totally.
But
yeah,
that's interesting. So why New York?
I always loved film. Like that was always like one of the things I was super into, but like indie, like kind of like that kind of shit. And so I wanted to go to film school, and there's like 2 good film schools. There's a couple good film schools, but like the 2 best film schools in the U.S. are NYU and USC. And USC was like right by where I grew up. And so I was like, I want to move kind of far away and just try it out. And then I moved here, and I love it so much. Like I don't want to leave ever. It's so much fun.
It's an addicting city.
It's an addicting. Like it doesn't feel like I'll go back to LA for like whatever job stuff, and it's just it does not feel even. It doesn't. No place feels like a city besides this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Every city is like, well, it's trying to be New York.
Yeah. We close at 11. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not. Yeah, it's just not
I had
the same.
a lot of resentment for New York because it's where I'm from. So like every bad thing that's happened to me has happened here.
Yeah.
But now that I've been traveling a lot, I'm like, oh shit, New York is awesome.
Yeah, that makes. Did you grow up in New York?
In Queens.
In Queens. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was cool. I just think I missed like the element of community because I never went to high school in the same or school in general in the same neighborhood I lived in. So I was like, what if I had a cul-de-sac?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people talk shit about people who stay in their hometown, but I really understand the idea of like my oldest friends in New York are like 7 years old, which is even for New York is like long.
Yeah.
But I don't have like I'll go home and I'll be like, oh, these are like my childhood friends. You know what I mean? Like, these are the people who like grew up with me, and like feels like that's the kind of thing that you can't find. You know what I mean? That's like, it's like you have that or you don't.
Yeah.
So there's people who I know, like you, like grew up here, where like I do envy kind of the like depth of their relationships that they get.
The thing is, though, everyone does leave New York. So it's like everyone that I grew up with is like my best friend, like I met probably 7 years ago or something.
Oh, wait, cool.
Because everyone just leaves.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's cool.
So, okay, NYU, you went for film.
Went for film.
Then and I know you're also a drummer.
Yes.
How did you go from music, film to comedy?
Actually, I did comedy before all of it.
Really?
Comedy was like always the thing that I like loved. Like I was like one of those comedy nerds. Like I've seen every special, I've read all the books, and like since I was like a little kid, like I loved stand up. And I know that's like, I don't know, kind of like an embarrassing thing to admit, but like
no,
it really,
not at all.
Like I like loved, like it was like always like my favorite like thing to watch and see. And then this is actually an embarrassing story I'm realizing now, but the guy who got me, I started doing comedy when I was 16. Mm-hmm. And the reason I started doing stand-up was because Pete Davidson got onto SNL. And I saw his Kimmel 5 minutes, which, have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He did this 5 minutes on Kimmel. It was before he was famous. He had no tattoos. He was this like nervous 20-year-old kid. And he wore this like ugly, like weird sweater. And he was just kind of an awkward guy. And he was 20. And it was so funny. Yeah. Like I remember I literally saw that and I did my first open mic the next day.
Aww.
And I was like that, and I was like, I used to play sports and I was like super into a bunch of things, and I just stopped everything. I was like, this is all I'm doing from now on. Like,
That's
like
awesome.
I like loved it. Yeah.
I remember I was like just on YouTube once and I like didn't really put together that Pete Davidson was a stand-up for some reason.
Yeah, right?
He's like he's more of just like a pop icon.
He's more famous for everything besides stand-up.
Yeah.
But he started as just like a 20-year-old in the city doing comedy. Yeah.
And he had this JFL set and I was like, oh my God, this is who is this guy? And then I looked and I was like,
great set. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely know. It's hard to keep up with a lot of the stuff. But yeah, his early stand-up is really funny.
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, so then did you just keep with stand-up or did you just sort of like what was your path? You started at 16? That was your first open mic?
Yeah, and then I started doing it a lot in high school. I literally became just all that I really did.
That's awesome.
I was also like, I was so bored. Like what did you do in high school? Like what did you do like after school or like whatever?
I was like I liked drugs.
Yeah, okay, cool. No, I get it.
And then I was in like a gardening club. I was
What drugs were you doing in high school?
Like coke, weed.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've only done mushrooms in high school. I won't do them again.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
Okay, so you were like a cool kid.
No, I feel like I wasn't cool though. Like I feel like it was like,
to me when I hear that I'm like, oh, like I didn't have the balls to do drugs in high school. Like I was a nervous kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was nervous too. No one was cool. Like it was just like here's an example. Yesterday, I'm like walking down the street. I saw a group of like 5 dudes and they're like, yo, where should we go? Should we go to his house? I don't know, let's go to his house. I'm like, that was high school. Just where should we drink 40s?
That's really funny.
But I liked guerrilla gardening.
What is guerrilla gardening?
It's basically when like there is like an open abandoned lot and you're like, oh, we're gonna go there even though we're not supposed to, and like plant seeds.
It's like positive graffiti. Yeah. It's like we're gonna That's really like adorable.
Yeah.
It feels like the beginning of like a superhero backstory.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like we broke into like this like billionaire's backyard and we like planted an apple tree or whatever. Like just generally good energy.
Yeah. It was fine. I mean, I'm grateful for the experience, but I don't talk to a single person from my high school, which is,
I feel like it's pretty common.
Really?
At least I do, but not that many. But I feel like a lot of people I know just absolutely don't.
I like saw my aunt yesterday, and I'm like kind of going through like friends that she's met. I'm like, cool. I don't talk to any of them.
Are you the kind of person who has like big falling outs with friends, or is it just like a gradual slip?
I would say explosive.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like now not so much, but I'll have periods where like I can just feel so like betrayed by someone that I don't forgive people.
Got it.
And that's definitely,
you have a vendetta.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's cool. That's fun actually.
Like if I break up with someone, like they're blocked on everything, and I will never make eye contact with them again. What about you?
I've only had like one. I guess I've had like 2 like relationships, but one of them was like 5 years and one of them was 3 months. Okay. So, but I've only like, so out of the 2 of them, it's hard to say like what I always do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I know what I did for each of them, but it was very like I don't have like enough data to be like, this is how I am,
Totally.
With like exes and stuff.
I definitely don't like, even with friends, like I don't want to be the person that gets so explosive that like you feel so embarrassed that you can't repair the friendship kind of thing.
Sure, totally.
But I definitely like, it definitely happens when you feel hurt by someone.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think about like, I think about like, oh, I should have more friends, and then I hang out with people and they talk about themselves, and I'm like, this is so boring.
It's insane. Like it actually blows my. Because I haven't dated anybody in like a while, and every now and then I'm like, I should try that again, and then I go on like a date, and I'm like, this is the worst experience I've had. Why would I ever want to do this?
What do you feel like you like look for in a partner? Like I
don't even know anymore, honestly. Like I don't have like. I'm looking for somebody who I've already been dating for a year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking. There's 2 people in my life who are like good friends of mine who are both women, who I've told them, I'm like, if you ever meet a girl and you're like, she's perfect for me, I'll marry her on site. Like I don't need I trust these 2 women to kind of figure it out for me.
I like that.
I'm tired. I don't put that much effort into it, honestly. Like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like. I think a lot of people our age use like dating and like sex especially, it's like kind of like a distraction. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a lot of people are like in these like kind of like dead end jobs and they don't have a lot of like passion or joy, and so they like use dating to fill that. Yeah. And I feel like I'm lucky enough to have something that I'm into. You know what I mean? And so I don't have that like passive need to like I need to do something today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people use sex and dating as like validation.
100%.
It's just like, am I hot? Well, yeah, because I fucked this ugly guy yesterday.
Yeah, and I have social media for that, so I don't need dating. I don't need a woman to tell me that. I have Instagram followers, so yeah, it's great. I get the validation, and I don't even have to like get. I don't like drink or whatever, and so it's just hard to like go out to like places.
I was noticing that like I haven't drank since September, and there's a woman that like I'm friendly enough with. I got her a gift, and I was like, I got you a gift, I want to give it to you. Aww. And then she's like, you want to go out for drinks tonight? And I was like, I can't tonight, like let's do something tomorrow. And she's like, okay, what about this bar? And I feel like I don't want to be that person who's like, hey, I don't drink, because it makes them feel bad.
I'm the same way, Where it's like I won't mention it until we're in a place, but then we're there and it's like people get awkward about it.
Yeah, and you're like, no, I'm not judging you. I just don't want to.
Totally. I'm almost jealous of you for being like, for the fact that like this is a thing you folded in properly, or maybe you haven't. I don't really know, but like, yeah.
What motivated you to stop drinking?
I never really drank that much like it wasn't like a hard decision for me. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of like I never loved it. and I don't know, I might start again at some point. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like one of those like lifelong whatevers, but I graduated from school, and then I was working at a job that I just hated, and then I was like, I need to not do that anymore. And so I stopped, and then in that period I was like, okay, like until we figure out what we're doing, like we need to focus. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I need to like it's time to make some shit happen, you know? And so I just kind of focused for since then. Actually, it's been almost a year now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
amazing.
I mean I guess it worked or whatever. Like it helped me a lot. Just be like, okay, this year is for trying to figure out how to be an adult now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look? What does being an adult look like?
It's
to
always
you?
so dumb because for us it is just like I'm trying to do stand-up comedy. Like that's not an adult thing to want. You know what I mean? Like it's not a thing that like no president has ever been like I need to do more open mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's. I think with any job, you always feel like I need to be more productive in this way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like when I was like working at Variety, the coffee shop,
Yeah.
I'm like, what other
Yeah.
kombuchas can I order?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's
Yeah, it's
you
like
always
you
are
always wanna-
trying to do the next best thing.
Totally. You want to be the best at whatever you're doing.
Right.
Which I guess makes sense. But yeah, so I feel like for me, it was really just trying to take this thing that is inherently a silly thing, like trying to take it like more seriously and trying to like start going on the road, start like building a fan base, start like whatever, all that dumb shit.
And you've done a great job of it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
What would your advice? Okay, so I always ask the best advice you've received, if you
Yes.
have that.
I have two actually. I was thinking about this on my way over here.
Okay, cool.
One of the I would say this is not the best advice, but it's some advice. So this was a vivid memory of mine when I was like probably 12 or 13. I used to get in trouble in school a lot, but just for like saying things. Like I would never like fight or whatever, but I would like talk shit to teachers and like make inappropriate jokes, kind of. And so I made a joke to a teacher. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that my principal called my dad and like on the phone, he was kind of like laughing with my dad about it. And so I was at home at the dinner table and I was like terrified, right? I'm like, just like my parents are going to be so mad. And I remember my dad said, he's like, Austin, just know that you're always allowed to say anything you want as long as it's funny. And then my mom went, no, you can't. And then she got so mad at him for saying that. And so and they're getting divorced right now. So I feel like that is the reason for that. So yeah, that one really, I think that was like a cornerstone moment. I really remember that. Like I can feel the chair. You know what I mean?
Do you feel that that's true? You can say anything as long as you make it funny?
Oh, I've been told by every person that that's not true.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What do you feel in your heart?
I mean, to me, I feel like I'm bad at judging situations. You know what I mean? I feel like because there's so few times, like, I feel like if there's a moment when you can, like, I don't know the word for it. Like, if you can, like, verbally dunk, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a waste not to.
Yeah.
Like, if you can have, like, an Aaron Sorkin line of dialogue and conversation, like, you have to do, like, it's such a rare moment to be like, and like, with the timing is there, and, like, yeah, you have to apologize for it for the next 3 years, but, like.
But it's worth it.
But it was such like, I don't know. I think that you can, but also everyone has told me that that's not how you can be a person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
what
guess
do you
as a
think?
performer, I think you can get away with a lot as long as you're making like a smart, funny remark on it. In life, I think of times where, I don't know, sometimes I'll be funny, but it's mean.
Yes.
And it does feel rewarding.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. It's so much fun. Yeah. I think I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day. The best kind of laugh to get, I think, is a laugh from someone who is already actively mad at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is not my story. This is my friend's story. But him and his girlfriend at the time were like kind of fighting, and she said, "Do you think we're gonna make it?" And he said, "Until when?" And it's like things like that. This is James Azaretti. That's my podcast co-host story. Shout out him. But it's things like that where I'm just like, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, obviously you have to apologize for that. But like, it's the kind of thing where like, it's just you can't not, you know?
It's fun when you're having an argument with someone and you can make them laugh and it makes you make up too. Because you're like, okay, like we're good.
Yeah.
What is your second best advice?
I feel like one of the other problems I have with advice in general is that it's always kind of hacky. You know what I mean? Like the best advice is like sleep well, eat your vegetables, treat others the way you want to be treated. Like it's things that like
valid.
They're inherently true, but also like it's like they're like mom like throw pillows. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that being said, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard is this guy, Moxie Marlinspike. Do you know who that is?
No.
He used to be this kind of like vagabond anarchist. He made this movie called Hold Fast, which is it's a documentary of him and his friends, and they go to Miami. They train hop to Miami, and then they get an empty sailboat for free, and they rebuild it, and they sail around the Keys, and it's basically like a super anti-capitalistic, anti-materialistic documentary of these people. Like they find like an old drug dealer's hideout, and like, they hang out in there, and just like they live on like a super rich guy's yacht for a couple weeks, and like it's just like a bunch of like little stories, and they make the documentary with cameras, and they return the cameras, and like he put it on YouTube for free.
That's cool.
And then that guy, Moxie Marlinspike, came back. I think he was like 24, 25, and then he started learning how to computer code, and now he's the head of security for Twitter.
Whoa.
And he created end-to-end encryption. He's done Rogan now, and he's just like he's like a white guy with dreadlocks, like really like interesting, unique, weird guy. But in the movie, he talks a lot about the idea of getting stuck in routine. Like he talks like the whole movie's narrated by him, and he at the time he was like literally like a homeless traveler, and he was like the most scary thing to him is the idea that you can wake up every day and just becoming like a sort of like robot monotonous being, and the reason that he does a lot of the things that he does is because he can't imagine being stuck in that.
That's not cliche. I like that.
Yeah, so I was really reaching for a not cliche one.
Okay, I was like, well, that's not cliche at all.
Yeah, but that's that really stuck with me. If you haven't seen the documentary, you should watch it. It's on YouTube for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the Anarchist Yacht Club's Hold Fast.
So that reminds me that like you take a good portion of your life. Yes. Were you on a motorcycle?
Yes. And by the way, you're asking me this at the right time because my mom just found out about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why? You didn't tell her?
Oh, my mom and my dad have good friends who have both died on motorcycles and shit, but they've both rode motorcycles for years, so they're huge hypocrites. But for a long time, my mom told me that if I got a motorcycle, she would disown me. But now her and my dad are getting divorced, and so they're both fighting over my love. And, and they found out about it, and so yeah, it's been working out. But yeah, I did do that for a while. I named the motorcycle Marlinspike after Moxie, which is.
So tell me about that. What did you do? First of all, what was the bike that you had?
I had a Yamaha Virago 1974, I think was the year. So it's old piece of shit. I bought it for $900 cash in Baltimore. The reason I went on the trip was because the 5-year relationship ended in the middle of COVID, and I just like kind of fully panicked. Like stand up wasn't happening. I hadn't graduated college. I took 2 years off college, so I hadn't graduated yet. And I was just like freaking out. I was like, I don't know. Like, and it was the point where everyone was like, it might go on forever, COVID and shit. So I was like, I was in New York. I was like, I need to leave. And so I went on Craigslist and I found the cheapest motorcycle, which was that. And then I left.
How did you learn how to ride it?
I had driven motorcycles when I was in high school.
Okay.
So yeah, I had like a little dirt bike that I bought. And then one of my best friends growing up is a mechanic. And so he always had like bikes and stuff, and I learned with him.
That's cool.
But yeah.
So a 74, was that like breaking down constantly?
Yes.
How did you deal with
yes.
That's a crazy choice for a long road trip.
It was I remember at one point it broke down so much, and that was kind of at first that was the scary part.
Yeah.
The first time it broke down was I was in South Carolina in the woods. I brought like a hammock and I was like sleeping like outside. I didn't have any money, right? So I was sleeping like in the woods, and I couldn't tell my parents about it. So
They think you were in New York?
Yeah, they thought it was in New York.
Okay.
Still. And so I'm sleeping like in my hammock, eating my like granola or whatever, and I in the middle of the woods in South Carolina, and I get up and the bike won't start, and I have no phone service, and so I'm kind of like fully freaking. This is day like 3 or 4, and so I start like freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I tried to I remember there was like I was like hiding in the woods, right? So I walked to the nearest ranger station, and this is gonna sound like the ranger just like he didn't know, he'd never seen a person. It felt like I walked in and he was just shocked that I was there, and he was like a little bit handicapped to the point where he just couldn't we couldn't speak to each other.
Yeah.
And so I left and I was like, okay, like I'm stuck here. Like I don't know what to do. So I walked, I think it was probably like 15-ish miles back to like the main highway, and there was a barn that I remember seeing, and I walked up to the barn, and there was a bunch of old like broken down cars in the front yard, and there was Motley Crue music just blasting. I heard it from like a mile away, and I was like, okay, that guy's gonna help me. So I walked over, and it was this probably 85-year-old toothless guy, no shirt, underneath the car, and I scared the fuck out of him because there's no one around, right? So I walk up, And he was like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I explained about the bike, and he's like, okay, let's see what we can do. So we go back to the bike, and he helps me get it to his barn. And he's like, okay, your alternator's broken, which is the thing that like recharges the battery. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's broken. I can't fix it, but I can charge your battery for you. But if I'm charging your battery, you got to buy me some cigarettes. And I was like, okay, sure. But the nearest gas station is like several miles away. So I leave. I walk. It's probably like 2 or 3 miles down the highway, leaving everything, like all my food, my backpack, my bike, everything with this guy in his home. And I remember being like, if he decides that like to take it, then that's his now. So I went to the gas station, got him cigarettes. They were like $4, right? And then I walked back. I gave it to him, and he was like, look, the alternator here is broken. What you need to do is either fix it, or you need to go to Walmart and get a jump pack, which is like these things that like auto recharge batteries. Mm-hmm. They're like $300-$400. I was like, fuck, like I don't have $300-$400 right now. So I went to he gets it going, and I'm like, thank you so much, and I leave. And for the next day and a half, every time I stopped, I would have to get somebody to jump the bike, like to like plug it into their thing. And then finally I was like, fuck it, like let's figure this out. So I went to Walmart and I stole a jump pack from them. Nice. I stole 2. And then I literally, because it takes like 20 to 30 minutes to charge it. Right. So I stole them, and then I'm outside Walmart like fixing it with this thing I just stole. I was like, if I get arrested right now, this is the absolute dumbest. Like I stole it, and then I waited for 30 minutes afterwards. Right. Directly outside. And I was like, if I get arrested, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
But you were fine.
It was fine. Yeah, no one, you can steal from Walmart.
Oh my
God.
God.
One cares. Yeah.
So, okay, how many days total were you out on the road?
Like a little over a month.
And wow, what did you learn from just all of that time alone?
It honestly was unbelievable. The other thing that was really cool was that because I was riding for like probably 10 hours a day, mm-hmm. and I didn't have headphones. So that was like, I was just thinking for the whole time. And at first I kept a journal, and I reread it every now and then. And at first it was a bunch of stuff about like the relationship that I just gotten out of. And like, because me and the girl had started dating in high school. And so I was like 17 to 22. And so that was like, that's my adult life. You know what I mean? Like that's like I moved to New York. We like did all that. Like I had never been a single adult before, which I don't know. It was terrifying. Like, I was like, I don't know how to be a person, you know? So it was a lot of that. And then it became a lot of like, I don't know, like kind of like trusting myself a little bit. Because at first I was kind of like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Why am I even doing this? But then the more things that went wrong, because the bike broke down a couple other times. Right. And then like there was times where I was like, there was a hurricane, and I'd like run from the hurricane. Oh my God. And like I was stuck in Atlanta for like a week and a half because of the hurricane. I couldn't leave. And
how did you pick where you went?
I literally was like, where's it not raining right now? For the first, so the original
like goal, when you started, did you have a destination?
The original goal was to go to Savannah, Georgia. Because I had read this book, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Have you read it? No. It's an unbelievable book. It's so cool. And the book really talks about, it's a real story, like a murder in Savannah, Georgia. And it's it's one of my favorite books of all time. And so I read that book immediately, like I was in the middle of it right before I left. And I was like, it's a city I've never been to. It's open for COVID. Comedy's happening there. Let's just go down there. So I got to South Carolina, and the bike broke down, and then the hurricane came. And so I was like, I'll go to Atlanta, and then I'll wait out the hurricane, and then I'll go to Savannah. So then I did that, and then there was more rain and hurricane stuff, so I never made it down there. Oh, so then and then I just kept going west, basically.
So how far did you go?
I got to California.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I ended up going back. There's a photo of I left it at my friend's garage, who's a mechanic in LA.
And then you flew back?
Yeah. And then I sold it out there.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
It was the most fun thing I think I've done. Like I was so happy about it.
Like I feel what intrigues me the most is just like all that like time that you spend with your own thoughts. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like I never have like 3 hours alone with my thoughts anymore. I don't know about you, but it feels like we just don't get that. Yeah. You know? And it was one of those things that, it really made me just realize like what I wanted and what my goals are, and like just how it was like one of those like being like present things that I feel like I've never gotten. What was the most challenging part, other than like, you know, the rain, the elements, all of that? Like what was the hardest thing for you to tackle, and what did you take away from it? I feel like the rain and the elements thing actually wasn't that bad, because I feel like the hardest part of it was every now and then I was in like Wichita, Kansas. Yeah. And there was just like, I was in a shitty mood, you know, and it was like, I hadn't eaten enough that day. And like, I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, why am I here? You know, like those were the hard parts, was being like the questioning of like because there was no reason for any of it, right? Like it was just purely like for fun thing. And so if I wasn't having fun,
then why am I doing it?
Right.
And it was just like sometimes it would take like a day to be like reset, you know, and then to be like, you know, this is like I'm just doing it.
It's kind of important to think of life that way too,
Totally.
because it's like obviously we need to make money, but
Yeah.
also like we need to make sure we're happy. This
Yeah,
is the
exactly.
only time that we get to be here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that suck?
I think I literally talk to Dan about this all
Yeah.
the time because I go through phases of just being really freaked out that we're gonna die.
It scares the shit out of me.
I'm like, people I love are gonna die.
Yeah.
And it's like unavoidable.
But on the bright side, people you hate are also gonna die. Yeah.
But I don't want them to get death sympathy.
I don't understand how people just do things without being like, oh, we're all gonna die. Like I do not understand how people just go around without thinking about that.
I don't know why. Like it just scares me, and it comes to me like before bed a lot.
Yeah, same.
And I'm just like, it just really freaks me out.
Yeah.
And then I also, it gives me like a level of guilt whenever I feel like depressed. I definitely have like a tendency towards feeling depressed and anxious, and then I'm like, I'm not grateful enough.
Totally.
And it just becomes like a really vicious cycle.
Yeah. How old were you? Do you remember when you figured out you were gonna die?
Yeah, like, well,
Yeah.
so my parents are atheists,
Got it.
and so I just remember, I have like a very vivid memory of like being in the backseat of the car on the highway, going back to Queens,
Yeah.
and then just like looking out the window and being like, we're all gonna, like, it's all gonna be gone one day. And I
Yeah.
used to have these thoughts like, that chair, I'm never gonna see a chair again. And I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I'd like
Yeah.
go tell my dad, like, Dad, I can't sleep, I'm thinking about, and I really respected my dad for a long, long time because he was always like the only person that I felt understood this like existential crisis.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. When did
Yeah.
you realize?
Mine's not as cool. I was reading Percy Jackson, and they go to the underworld to like save a whatever. I don't remember the story too well, but I remember being like, "Oh fuck, I am gonna die," and then that was the first thing I ever wrote. I was like, I didn't like, because in the Percy Jackson books, most people go to like you have to be like a hero to go to like I think it's Elysium or something, like the good death place, and like normal people don't get to go there. Whereas like in Christianity, like most normal people get to go to heaven or whatever. But I was like, I don't like that one either. So I wrote my own like afterlife story where
That's cool.
I was like, just to like be like, this is what because that shit scared the fuck. Like I didn't sleep for like a week. Like it really scared me.
Yeah. The hardest thing for me is just knowing like just knowing that like people I love aren't going to be here at a certain point, and I just can't fathom how I'm going to function that way. And like I feel like I hear terrible stories about people losing loved ones, and I'm just like, I don't know how you're functioning.
I've never lost somebody who I'm like is like a true like close person to me, like my grandparents, but that's like someone who's like a very like close friend. And I honestly am so afraid of what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I like actively worry about it to the point where it's like we're wasting time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think like the rational like friends I have will be like, we're here now.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy it. Just relax. And it is very hard to like remain present.
Totally. Because the logical thing is like we only have a certain amount of time. Enjoy it, but how? There's only a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, how do I get to like fuck off? Like, let me freak out about this.
It's so crazy that there's like two types of people in this world: the type that like really freaks out about this, and the type that just doesn't think about it.
And I don't I have like such an envy, but also like astonishment. Like, how do you not think about that? Like, it's literally the worst thing ever, and it's inevitable. And you don't think about it? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, and how are you at peace with it? It's just really
I know
something that I know is going to be like my life's work.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, how do people like cheer for high school football? You know what I mean? Like, people are going to die. You know, like I do not understand it.
And at the same time, I just get caught up caring about like dumb shit all the time too.
Oh yeah, me too. Of course. What's the dumbest thing that you really care about?
That I care about? I mean, I think the way I look.
Yeah.
I think that like I fixate a lot on like my weight, and it's like I'm the only person that notices these things, and like it will like make or break my day. And it's just the stupidest thing ever. I look the same to anyone.
Yeah.
But I'll notice everything, and I think that it is like in our culture.
100%. We live in such a visually appealing culture. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stats, but like people who are like attractive have lesser jail sentences and get paid more and shit.
Yeah.
Like it really matters. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. And it's also crazy when like people put in your head that like this is your value.
Totally.
And so you're like, what if I lose that value?
Yeah.
Like, is my life gonna go differently?
No, 100%. It is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes. I feel like that's. I don't like. It's obviously it's not a dumb thing because it really matters in our society. But it's one of those things that like, in a perfect world, no one would think about.
Right.
You know, but it is just the kind of thing that is constant and it's insane.
It's especially in entertainment or comedy. There's, I mean, I really hate the culture of comedians. Immediately, if someone's successful, they don't like them.
100%.
And it's it does speak to like this level of like rabid insecurity in our field.
100%. Did you feel that a lot because you got pretty successful pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, I definitely felt really isolated from everyone in comedy. I mean, I used to talk about it on this podcast incessantly.
This is outing me as not having listened to this podcast.
No one listens to this podcast. It's fine. But I just felt really isolated. I felt like I didn't have a single friend that was a comedian. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone, or if they're nice to me, they're like using me. And I do feel like I like use that to like create an online community that like my Twitch community. The people that were there during that time, like I feel as though they're like my friends. Like I know people, they're like, they're your fans, but I'm like, I feel like they helped that community. Yeah. Just like helped me through that time because.
Would you talk about it like openly, and they would like respond and like you would like get into it, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like people were really mean to me at the end of the day, and
like real life people, not online people.
Yes, like comedians. I felt were very mean and made me feel like I was disliked, and so I think learning that it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, and also
that's a hard one to learn. That's one of those hack things that is impossible to internalize.
Seriously, and then also just like comedians are never going to be the ones to help you with your career. Like the people that you need are like the people that resonate with you. Totally. I've never met a comedian like people will be like, "Oh, are you dating this person to like get higher in your career?" And it's like, no, then you just become their girlfriend, and that makes you seem just like a comedian's girlfriend. That's worse. Like
it's funny to think that dating Dan will help your career.
But it's
so I think that's hurting you, if anything.
I feel like I don't know, I just
it is insane the way that people think about relationships in this industry.
Yeah.
Like people, like the amount of times people are at a bar and I'm like, what's up? And they're like, oh, we're networking. And I'm like, no, we're hanging out. Like, what are you talking about?
The most a comedian can do for you is have you open for them. That's literally it.
Yeah.
And sure, that can be valuable, but there's no reason to suck anyone's dick.
And also, like, they can have you open for them, but also the person they're having open for them is generally the person they started with 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like that, and that's how it should be. Like, it's like you bring the people on the road who are, like, the guys you've known forever. Totally. You know? So it's weird.
There's just, like, if you're, like, there's an inherent disrespect that comes with being an attractive female opener.
And I really cannot even imagine what that, like, I, like, genuinely, like, could not put myself in that. Because, like, even, like, I don't even have the level of success that you do, and even already people are weird to me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I cannot imagine yours on top of the fact that, like, you are, like, an attractive female. It must really be insane.
It's funny because my manager, when I taped my special, he was like, oh yeah, like the things people are saying about you, I think you're gonna be big. And I'm like, why? What are they saying? They're like, they're saying you don't deserve it. They're saying they hate you. Like, that's what happens when good things happen. People just, I mean, obviously I hate this example, but if you use Matt Rife, like, why is he getting hate from comedians? It's psychotic.
You're
not competing for the same spot as him.
He's obviously good for comedy. Everyone's good for comedy because he's bringing people who wouldn't watch comedy into comedy. Yeah. Like, if you've seen his fan base, that's not a comedy fan base, but it's awesome that those people now know what stand-up is. Like, stand-up is a genre. Yeah. Like, it's a niche genre, and for some reason we treat it like it's not. Like, we treat it like stand-up is like as an entity needs to be bigger. You know what I mean? And, like, the more people who can drag, like, there's other examples, like, people, I forget her name, but she's a big reality star at the Stand a lot.
Hannah.
Yeah, so, like, her fans, the same thing. Like, she's bringing fans who probably couldn't name a single comedian into the world of stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
and that's
awesome.
I mean,
she's very funny, and she's also, like, such a hard worker.
I'm sure, I don't know her at all,
People
but I'm
don't realize that, like, I mean, social media is a fucking full-time job.
And people don't get that. Yeah, and I mean, it's also because it's embarrassing to talk about.
Right.
Like, you're not supposed to.
It makes you seem like desperate when you're like, I need to post every day. That is
I'm selling tickets.
Your job. And
yeah.
I think one good piece of advice that I got was like, you can't think of it as if it's you posting. It's like I am posting for Natalie the comedian.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Instead of like, it's just me, it's the me show. Yeah. It's like, no, my business is Natalie the comedian, and I have to take care of that.
Yeah. Do you think that social media as a whole has helped or hurt comedy? That's a hard question. I said it, but what do you think?
I mean, I honestly think it's helped comedy in the sense that, okay, well, what's the first point of comedy is to make people laugh, right?
Absolutely.
It's making it more accessible to people, and it makes people happy.
Totally.
I think, yes, there are ways in which it's been detrimental,
sure.
but I think comedians don't realize that it's not like we're all actors auditioning for the same role.
Yeah, not even a little bit. Yeah. That makes. I have another good piece of advice I got one time.
Okay.
This is my friend Mark Gagnon. Do you know him? He's a comic.
I feel like that name is so familiar.
He's opens for Schultz now. Curly hair. Yeah, he's a super funny guy.
Yes.
He was my first friend that like had any success, and the way he got successful at first was he made these videos. There were these like very cheesy, feel-good videos on YouTube. Like the first one was like he built a ball pit in his hometown, and he like in between work shifts, people would come and play in the ball pit. And I was like, Mark, why are you doing that? Like this isn't like that's not who you are. And he's like, no, but like these videos are meant to make people happy. Yeah. And the whole point of all of this is to like make people's lives better. And doing like someone is gonna watch this and it's going to improve their day.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's such, like, I literally, because to me, comedy before that, and I still think this a little bit, is always about, like, speaking truth and, like, finding and, like, identifying the whatever. But he was like, no, like, the whole point of what I'm doing is to make people feel better about their lives.
Yeah, I love that. I also feel like.
And that was cool to hear, yeah.
Sometimes I'll be like, I just want to speak about mental health.
Exactly.
Then I speak about mental health. It's just not funny.
It's not, yeah, no, I don't do that, but I have similar things where I'm like, I just want to, like, say my truth, and then it's like, why would I do that? Like it's not a fun. Exactly.
So you brought up your parents getting divorced? Is that happening? Did that begin in your adult life?
That's happened this year.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the way you talk about it on stage makes me feel like that was like a childhood thing that happened because I feel like you processed it.
Totally.
You're processing it well. But how do you feel like it's different to have parents that get divorced as an adult versus like a kid?
I think it's obviously I know a lot more now than I did. Like it affects. I don't live with them. I don't see them super often. I talk to them a good amount, but I don't see them that often. And so I feel like just as an adult, I definitely am not as impacted by it. Like I think that I can see that it's for the best. You know what I mean? Like I kind of see most of the. There's never been a part of me that's like, this is my fault. You know?
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like if I was a kid, that would happen.
Yeah.
I think that it's my relationship with my parents now is much more friend than parent, like child, and so I do see this as kind of like it feels like people I know are breaking up. You know? Right. And obviously there's more to it than that, but I do feel like it's definitely a lot easier as an adult. Yeah. Are your parents together?
No.
How old were you?
So they like split up when I was in 5th grade, but then we all lived together until I was in high school.
God, I was really, I said that and I was like, God, her dad better be alive.
No, he's alive. He's alive and well.
All right, good. Because I was like, I've heard about your mom, but I've never heard about your dad. And I was like,
some people say that. I had this terrible friend that I met at the dog park, and she was like, I've never heard about your dad. One day you'll get into it. I'm like, I just don't talk about him. I'm just not. I don't see him as often. And
totally.
I think I finally am at the place in my life where I forgive my parents, which feels really nice.
That's good.
I actually feel guilty that I didn't forgive them I didn't forgive them earlier because their time is limited.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, I feel like there's something I had to learn too, is that there's only a certain amount of time you're allowed to blame your parents for the way you are.
Yeah, you
and
have to
at
take
a certain point, you're just a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain age where it's like, okay, you can't blame that one on dad anymore. You know, like it's time to grow up.
Like you just are an asshole.
Yeah. We all had a thing. Do your job. You know.
Yeah, I sometimes see myself like acting out in the ways that like my parents did, and it's this weird feeling of like it brings me empathy for them. Yeah. But also like so much self-hatred.
It's so I had a motorcycle trip.
Yeah.
I got home and I didn't tell my parents about it, right? And I was home totally separately, and I had forgotten about this. But it turns out my dad had done a solo motorcycle trip across the United States, and I was asking him about it. And I was like, what's the craziest place you slept? And he said that he was on Virginia Beach in Virginia, and he slept on some sand dunes, and he woke up and he realized that he was behind a military base. And I literally slept in the exact same place.
Did you tell him?
Totally. I told him recently.
Yeah.
Totally separately. No plan about it. Like in the middle, I got there in the middle of the night, and there was just like these nice looking sand dunes on the beach, and I slept there, and then I woke up and there was a military base right over there. And I was like, my dad literally slept there, like 40 years? Like that's insane.
That's
like,
so cool.
What are the odds? Like he told me that, and I tensed up. Like it scared the shit out of me.
It's like we are animals. We have like.
I'm you. I what the fuck? Like I'm you? Like why?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's terrifying.
We had Father's Day at my house, and
that's cute.
It was cute because it was Dan and I's first time like having people. So we had my dad and then his parents.
Cute.
My dad, he was telling so many stories, and I was like, oh my god, he is like a performer.
Yeah.
Like he was doing voices. I was like, this is where.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to see.
That's so cool. Yeah.
You know, there's a piece of advice that I have been wanting to say on this podcast that. So Dan was like, everyone knows this advice. But I'm like, this is the 95th episode. No one's ever said this. And the advice is mind your business. What happened was we are on the, the fourth floor of an apartment. And I'm looking outside all the time, facing these people's backyards. And they have this pit bull. Maybe I partially told you this.
I don't remember though.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah.
So they have this pit bull and they leave it outside 24/7. It's always outside. It's always moaning it wants to go in the house. And like I create this whole story in my head, like this poor dog, these terrible owners.
It's like a Disney movie at the beginning, like before it gets out and like talks or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just like, they've treated this dog so terribly. Yeah. So finally, there's a guy one day, he comes out and he starts yelling at the dog. And I'm like, thought I was invisible. I took out my phone. I started taking a video of him. And he saw me. And like he went back in his house, came out with another guy. And they started taking a video of me.
Taking a video?
Yeah, they like had their phone up.
That's funny.
At the towards my window. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And it sent me into this spiral for like a week. I was
that's
like,
terrifying.
I can't live here anymore. I gotta move out. And Dan's like, mind your business. That's the number one piece of advice. I'm like, I've never heard that. But now I really think about it a lot.
Yeah, that's really. So is the dog still out there?
Yeah, but I don't. I'm like, I don't fuck that dog.
Fuck that dog. That should be the advice. Fuck that dog.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care about this fucking dog.
It's nothing to do with you.
I tried to protect him. He gave me so much anxiety.
So. What was your because you were filming him? What was your plan with the video afterwards?
Okay, like I had this whole. So my idea, I was like, I wasn't really gonna do anything with the video, but in my like weird rage, my total
of course
Karen moment. Yeah. I was like, if he keeps this dog out for a month straight, I'm gonna like call someone.
Yeah.
When it's like it's not. Maybe the dog is like violent.
It's
maybe
the only dog in New York that is outside right now, so that's something.
But I just feel like
no, I get the exact same way, where it's like something like someone will do something so minor, and then I'll spend like a day and a half plotting revenge, and then I'm like, Austin, you can't be doing that.
I know. Dan's like, you're in your Karen stance. Like there's this Mercedes that like keeps blocking our garage, and Dan's like, last night he's like, fuck this fucking Mercedes. I'm like, you want me to leave a note? It's like, no. I'm like very into like justice, even though it's not.
No, I 100% feel you. Like I definitely I was talking to a friend of mine, and we both I don't know why I said it, but I was like, I just have this fantasy of I'm walking home and I see like a friend of mine getting yelled at by a dude, and I will step in and start yelling at the guy with I just have this fantasy, and it doesn't happen. Actually, one time I go to the same coffee shop almost every day, and there's this one guy who works there who I do not know. He's not a friend of mine. I couldn't even name him right now, but I see him every single day, right?
Yeah.
And I was there one day, and his boss was yelling at him, and I'm at the counter, and I fucking laid into the boss in front of like a whole coffee shop, and then I left, and I was like, what? Maybe he was stealing. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he fucked his wife. Like, I don't know what happened.
No idea.
I have literally no idea. I just, for some reason, and I'm probably right. To be fair, I'm probably the boss was being a dick. But also, that's a small business owner. You know what I mean? Like, I'm yelling at this guy who's a pillar of the community, and I'm just for yelling. I just get into these modes. I feel you.
And then it's like you feel like rage.
And now I can't go back there.
Do you not go back?
Of course not. I'd be so embarrassed. I passed him on the street one time and I was so ashamed.
Did you say hi or
no? The boss. I passed the boss because it's literally on my corner, and I see him. He has a kid and a girlfriend or wife, and they're always out together. They're a young couple.
What did you say to him when he was yelling at?
He was yelling at this guy. And I literally was like, hey, don't you fucking dare. He's one of the best employees I've ever seen. He deserves to be paid more. You're not good enough to him. I don't know what was wrong with me that day. I really, I was going in.
Did the employee do anything?
He was shocked. He was he stepped back breath, level of again, a guy I've never spoken to.
To be fair, I think every employee dreams of someone like you stepping in
that
situation. So it's
because I've been an employee who's been yelled at before, and I was like, I wish, because I can yell at that boss. You know what I mean? I get to, presumably, I'm sure that the boss then took the anger at me out on him more. You know what I mean? I'm sure that I made the situation infinitely worse.
Yeah, but
it felt really good for a couple of hours.
And then you're just like, why am I me?
Yeah. And I had paid for a coffee. I didn't get it. You're
like, I'm not waiting for the coffee.
I didn't wait for the fucking, I just gave that place $3 or whatever. And, but yeah, I absolutely get into those modes, and it's a thing that I see my dad doing and my brothers doing also. Yeah, and I think it's just I don't know, it's one of those things that we have.
Yeah, I had ovarian cysts, so I'm getting ultrasounds.
Damn, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah. It's not cancerous.
Okay.
I think. I hope. Whatever. But
I also hope. Yeah.
I went to the gynecologist and he was like, yeah, whatever. We'll do it again in 3 months. So I got another ultrasound in 3 months, and then my gynecologist wouldn't call me back with the results.
That I hate. That's so terrifying.
Dude, I just my regular doctor's receptionist called me and was like, everything's fine, relax. And I was like, no, I want to know what's in there, what's going on.
Doctor results are the scariest thing in the world.
I called my gynecologist so many times, no response. The receptionist yeah, he'll call you later. And then the third time I called and I left a voice message and I was like, I want you to know, I will be suing.
I will be. How much time between the test and the results was this?
I think maybe it was 2 weeks.
That's too long. No, that's aggressively too long.
I was like, I will be suing if I don't.
I thought it was a day and a half. No, 2 weeks is too long to be on ice.
And so I never heard from them again. I asked the imaging place for the breakdown of my results, so I just looked at it and Googled it, and I'm like, I guess I'll find another. I can't go to my gynecologist again because I threatened to sue him.
Wait, they never called you back?
Mm-mm.
Really?
And I was so insane. I left a Google review for the practice,
and
I DM'd them. RWJ Barnabas.
I think this is the different. We have the guy and girl version of the same thing. Which because I would never. I can't imagine giving a Google review ever. But I'll yell in person and then you'll do the insane review thing. But
I deleted the Google review, even that because it says my name. I don't want to be Natalie Cuomo 1 star. I have an ovarian cyst. It doesn't need to be on Google. But
yeah. Well, meanwhile, it's on the internet right now.
Yeah, but it's in a better.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny.
I know it's.
It's wild they didn't give you the results though.
They suck.
Yeah, that's actually. I mean, I think that's against the law.
This is what I find myself in this situation. I'm right, but I didn't handle it well, so now I'm wrong.
So now I'm wrong. No, absolutely. It sucks. Because I'm no, but I'm right, but I'm being a fucking psychopath about
Every fight I've ever gotten into, I'm not right. There are times I've been right, but I don't get to be right because I handled it like an asshole.
Literally 100%. It's now me yelling at you is somehow worse than the fact that you broke my bike or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But all right, I like to end my podcast pulling a tarot card.
Okay, cool.
I feel like you have experience with tarot cards.
Yeah, of course. I went. I've been around white women who go to NYU for a long time. So yeah, I have a good amount of experience.
When did you graduate NYU?
I actually graduated last year because I took 2 years off.
When was your fresh? When were you supposed to graduate?
I was supposed to graduate. Let me think. My first year was 2017, so I was supposed to graduate 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, but I graduated 2020. I graduated the end of 2022.
I can't even do math anymore.
Yeah.
Because my best friend went to NYU, but I think it was earlier for film.
Oh, cool. So did I.
Yeah. That's why. But
what's their name? We don't have to talk about that right now.
Her name's Megan.
I don't know Megan.
It's
but
fine.
Yeah, that's cool though. Tell her I say hi.
Okay. So we're going to pull a card. Do you want to shuffle them?
Yeah, sure. Just like this?
Yeah.
I can do a real shuffle.
I like it.
Let's try. They're a little bit big. So what is your history with tarot? Like, how often do you do this?
So I pull a card every stream on Twitch and every episode of my podcast.
Got it.
What happened was, I think maybe 2017, I got really into tarot cards from like my roommate, and then I started collecting tarot decks.
Cool.
So
are they different, or do they just like look like, is the deck itself made up of the same cards?
It's the same cards, but they like all look different.
Got it. Okay.
The issue is that like I still can't fully read them. I still need to read from the book, which is kind of pathetic because it's been.
I mean, is there like 200 unique cards? Or
76.
76.
Yeah.
I really did not eyeball correctly.
No.
I looked at that and I said that's 200.
But
they're bigger, so in my head that made more.
I try to just do it from memory, and I'm like, I'm wrong, but
they're all unique.
This, though, I will say, is the third time I have pulled this card.
Okay, so I'm not special.
I'm wondering if the deck. This is crazy.
Okay.
Because last week I did my podcast with Carmen Lynch. Pulled this card. My last stream, which was
Carmen's very funny, so I'm lucky.
On Monday, I pulled this card.
Well.
And today.
Oh, so 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, so you must be really good at knowing what this means.
Well, this card is kind of like. So the Father of Pentacles, it represents like an entrepreneurial person.
Okay.
Who just like on the surface you might not see everything, but they're like a very like hard worker. I don't like pulling like the mother, father, son, daughter cards because they don't seem to be like telling you a story so much of like how to feel so much as like telling you there's a person in your life or it's you.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Like so this might not relate to me. This might relate to somebody I know.
This is describing either you or a person that you know.
Okay. Cool.
So, okay, like, all right, I'm going to read it from the book just because I'm not. Let's see how wrong I was. I can't believe I keep pulling that card.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like, am
me
I
and
shuffling
Carmen are both, yeah.
Okay, Father of Pentacles, steady, entrepreneurial. The Father of Pentacles is a steady, gentle man. Upon first meeting, he can almost seem dull because of his extremely calm temperament. But underneath is
not me at all.
Right?
I'm so not calm.
But underneath is an incredibly passionate man who prioritizes the stability of his job, family, and home. He is entrepreneurial and diligent at work. A true pleasure to know.
Aw.
I don't know why this card keeps coming up, actually.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny because I have no real men in my life actively.
Really?
My dad, but like I don't see him like out of people that I see.
Yeah.
I would not describe any of them as like a real man. Besides Dan, honestly.
Dan, he is, but I wouldn't call him entrepreneurial. Like this card doesn't, doesn't describe.
Yeah,
him.
my mind didn't go to Dan, but I was just like, out of like the men that I know, like none of them are actual men.
Yeah,
yeah, like in the traditional sense.
I don't know why.
That's crazy though. I'll be on the lookout for that.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's coming up.
Yeah,
but here it is. The Father
cool.
of Pentacles. The one thing I'll say is Pentacles are money. Maybe it's like money's coming our way.
Oh, thank God, because I could be using some of that, dog. Let me tell you.
All right, Austin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Tell me where people can find you.
Instagram at Austin is a boring name. I do my own podcast. It's called Cutting Wires. It's me, my co-hosts James and Michael. Basically, I write moral dilemma questions like the trolley problem, but they're like modern versions of it, and then we kind of argue about who's a bad person.
Nice. And where can people find your podcast?
Oh, anywhere you find podcasts. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all the good ones.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you guys, and thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.